Today, I'm going to be giving you a walkthrough of the tools and techniques needed to give the scales of your EDC knife a custom paint job to make it more personalized and match your other EDC gear. And as a bonus, I'm going to show you another special technique that you can use to make this cool splattered paint effect on your EDC torch or knife. So stick around to the end. So let's get started with the knife, and along the way, any of the tools that we cover, I'll be leaving links for you in the description below. The reason I even wanted to do a custom paint job of this knife is because of this breathtaking stardust colored Olight EDC flashlight, which I have recently reviewed and will leave a link for you above. I decided I wanted to have a matching set of torch and knife, so started coming up with ways to make it happen. My research has led me to always go with civivi for my everyday carry knives because of the incredible value that they offer. The reason I went with this particular model, the civivi Altus, is because of the nice thumb stud deployment, as well as the button lock retraction, which makes this an extremely satisfying knife to operate. So once you have your knife, the first step you're going to want to take is decide on a custom paint job. Just do a bit of planning and actually coming up with what you want it to look like. So for myself, I just wanted to match the silver and blue of this stardust pattern. So all I did was go down to my local $2 shop and buy some acrylic paint in blue. And I just want to stress that you really don't have to go all out on the paints. Cheap is fine. And for the silver, I just used this lead belcher from Games Workshop, which I just happen to have on hand. And by the way, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next EDC review. The next step is going to be to remove the scales from the knife so that we may paint them. Now with civivi knives, you just need a T6 and a T8 hex bit. I'll be dipping into my tiny everyday carry kit, which I have reviewed recently, to access this tiny hex bit driver. We'll start by using the T6 bit to remove the pocket clip. With the pocket clip now removed, we'll just use our T8 bit to remove the remaining screws and take the scales off. For ease of reassembly today, we'll just be removing one scale. With your scales removed, the next step you'll need to do is spray them with an undercoat or primer to ensure that the acrylic paint will stick to the surface. Given my scale is black, I went with a black undercoat, which I picked up from Games Workshop, which is the same place I got this little silver paint. Before you start spraying the undercoat, my suggestion would be to grab an old ruler and some blue tack so you've got somewhere to mount the scales to while you spray them, and that's going to prevent your hands from getting dirty. Once your undercoat dries, you can then remove the scales, and I would suggest bringing a bit of blue tack with you so that you can mount them to your next surface where you're going to begin painting. For the acrylic painting step of the build, you can use any brush you have lying around, but for this build I use this small layer brush from Games Workshop. And all I did was go through with my blue acrylic paint and put down some dots in sort of random positions, not too close together, and of a few different varying sizes. Now if you're painting on a black background, you may find that you have to put down quite thick dots in order to see the color, which is what I had to do. And as a result, you will need to leave it drying for a little bit longer. Make sure your acrylic paint looks absolutely flat before you're ready to move on to the next step. Once you're happy with the acrylic paint job and it's had time to dry, you can then go ahead and grab your ruler or similar and blue tack it back on so that you're ready to give it a top coat. The top coat is probably the most important step of the whole build because that's what's going to protect your acrylic paint from getting worn down over time. Now with a knife build, I'd recommend using a matte top coat, but if you're doing something like a torch, you may want to use a glossy top coat. Once you've sprayed your top coat, I cannot stress enough how important it is to give it enough time to dry. I'll usually leave it overnight so that I'm absolutely certain that it's dried fully, because I've had it happen one too many times where I think it's probably dry, and if you touch it, you're going to leave a big ugly fingerprint and you might have to start the whole build over again. The following day, after very cautiously testing the top coat to see if it's adequately dry, you can then remove your scales and get ready for the reassembly phase. So let's get this reassembled, and before I put in the very last screw, I'm going to show you one last item that I highly recommend. We're now up to the last and most important screw of the build, and this is what determines how tight or loose the blade is. So my recommendation is to take some thread locker blue, medium strength, and we're going to add just 1 drop of that to the thread of our final screw, like so, just before we put that in. And what that's going to mean is that when we put this in, we get to decide exactly how tight we want it, and then it's going to stick like that and never move again until we unscrew it. Let's try now. Still could be a bit tighter. Okay, so after a bit more fiddling around, I've now got that to a point where I'm happy with. It's not too loose, not too tight. So now our thread locker blue is going to do its thing. We're just going to leave it, and that's going to settle in and lock that thread so that we never have to worry about it becoming loose again. All right, it's time for the bonus. So smash that like button. So here we have my i3E EOS mini flashlight, and I wanted to match the colorway as well with this Stardust so that I had a smaller one. So how was I able to achieve this speckled color pattern? I don't think you're ready to hear the secret because it's going to surprise you. Are you ready? It is a toothbrush. That's right. All you need is an old toothbrush, and the harder the bristles, the better. And all you do, guys, is load up some paint onto the bristles. And what you do is you simply hold it in front and just sort of flick it, and you can get this beautiful speckled color pattern. But it can get very messy, so please make sure you put a newspaper up on the wall behind you, because when I did this I found that it was splattering everywhere, and if I didn't have that, my wall would be toast. So there you have it, an old toothbrush, and that's how it's done. By the way, that's not the only Olight color mod I've done. I've also painted this little Olight in red and black to match the theme of my tiny EDC pocket kit, and if you haven't seen the review for this, I'm leaving it on screen for you now. As an EDC enthusiast, I'm also leaving you with our EDC playlist. And if you've made it this far, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our next cool EDC content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next review.